There comes a moment in a man's life when attention feels different, when a glance lingers just a little longer, when a conversation carries a hidden warmth, and you begin to wonder, is this just kindness or is something deeper quietly unfolding right in front of you? You see, as a man grows older, he begins to notice things he once overlooked. Not because he suddenly became wiser overnight, but because life has carved lessons into his soul. And one of those lessons is learning to read the silent language of human behavior. There's a certain energy, a subtle shift, when a younger woman is not just talking to you, but trying to connect with you on a deeper level. And the truth is, most men miss it, not because they are blind, but because they doubt themselves. They question their worth. They think, why would someone younger be interested in me? But let me tell you something that many people won't say out loud. Attraction is not about age alone. It's about presence. It's about emotional strength. It's about how a man carries his life experiences like quiet confidence rather than loud arrogance. Imagine this: you're having a simple conversation, nothing extraordinary, but she laughs not just politely, but genuinely. Her eyes stay on you longer than necessary. And when you speak, she listens not just to respond, but to understand. That right there is not ordinary, because in today's world, attention is cheap, but genuine interest is rare. A younger woman who is simply being polite will keep things surface level. Her energy will be light, neutral, and distant. But when she's drawn to you, there's a subtle pull, a curiosity. She asks questions not because she has to, but because she wants to know more about you. Your thoughts, your experiences, your story, and this is where many men make their first mistake. They overthink it. They assume it's nothing, they brush it off. Or worse, they become nervous and start trying too hard. They forget who they are. They lose the very thing that made them attractive in the first place, their natural, grounded presence. You see, attraction doesn't shout, it whispers. It shows itself in small, almost invisible ways, like when she finds reasons to be around you. When she initiates conversations without any real purpose. When she remembers the little things you said days ago, details that most people would forget. These are not coincidences. These are signals. But here's the deeper truth, and this is where wisdom matters. Not every signal means seduction. Not every smile means desire. A mature man understands the difference between attention and intention. Because sometimes what feels like attraction is simply admiration. Sometimes she sees in you something she respects: your stability, your calmness, your ability to handle life without chaos. And that admiration can feel powerful. It can make a man feel alive again. But if you don't understand it clearly, you might misread it. And that's where things become complicated. So the real question is not just, is she seducing me? The real question is, am I aware enough to understand what's truly happening here? Because awareness, that's your greatest strength. When a younger woman is genuinely drawn to you, her energy becomes intentional. She invests time, she creates moments. She subtly opens doors for deeper connection. It's not rushed, it's not forced. It flows naturally, almost effortlessly. And you feel it, not in your ego, but in your intuition. That quiet inner voice that says, there's something here. But let me remind you, that same voice can also be clouded by loneliness, by desire, by the need to feel wanted again. And this is why emotional discipline matters. Because a man who cannot control his emotions will always misinterpret signals. He will see attraction where there is none and miss sincerity when it truly exists. So before you try to understand her, you must first understand yourself. Are you seeing clearly, or are you seeing what you want to see? Because the difference between those two can change everything. And as we go deeper into this, you'll begin to recognize patterns, behaviors, subtle signs that reveal the truth behind her actions. Not guesses, not fantasies, but real, human signals that speak louder than words ever could. So stay with me, because what comes next might change the way you see every interaction from this moment forward. There's something powerful that begins to unfold when you stop looking at words and start observing behavior, because words, they can be polite, rehearsed, even misleading at times, but behavior always tells the truth. And when a younger woman is trying to seduce you, she doesn't announce it. She doesn't say it directly. Instead, she communicates through patterns, through consistency, through a quiet emotional investment that most people overlook. You'll notice that she doesn't just talk to you, she finds ways to stay in your space, not in an obvious or overwhelming way, but in a calm, natural rhythm. She lingers. Conversations don't end quickly. Even when there's nothing important left to say, she keeps the moment alive. Why? Because presence matters to her. And here's where it gets even more interesting. She begins to mirror you. Not in a forced way, but subtly. Your tone, your energy, your pace, she aligns with it. When you're calm, she softens. When you're focused, she pays attention. It's almost like she's trying to match your frequency without even realizing it. This is not accidental. This is emotional alignment. And emotional alignment is one of the strongest indicators of attraction. But most men miss it because they're waiting for something obvious, something dramatic, something undeniable. They're looking for loud signals while attraction is quietly unfolding right in front of them. Another thing you'll start to notice is the way she looks at you. Not just a glance, but a gaze that holds meaning. Eye contact becomes deeper, longer. There's a moment, sometimes just a second, where neither of you says anything, but something is clearly being felt. And in that silence, there's communication. Now understand this carefully, because this is where emotional intelligence separates a wise man from a reactive one. A younger woman who is seducing you doesn't rush physical closeness. She builds emotional tension first. She creates comfort, she makes you feel seen, and then she slowly begins to close the distance. Maybe it's a light touch during a conversation, something that seems casual on the surface but carries intention underneath. Maybe it's the way she positions herself closer to you, even when there's space available. These small actions, they're not random. They are invitations, not demands, not pressure, but invitations. And a mature man knows you don't chase invitations, you acknowledge them. Because chasing destroys mystery, but awareness builds connection. Now here's something deeper, something many men don't talk about. When a younger woman is truly interested in you, she becomes emotionally curious about your life. She doesn't just want to know what you do, she wants to know who you are. Your past, your struggles, the lessons you've learned, the way you see the world, and when you speak, she listens in a way that feels different. It's not distracted, it's not impatient, it's present. That kind of attention is rare, and it's not given to just anyone. But listen carefully, because this is where many men lose control. When they feel that attention, they start opening up too fast. They begin to reveal everything all at once, hoping to deepen the connection quickly. But here's the truth: depth is not built in a moment. It's built over time, and a man who reveals everything too soon removes the mystery that made him intriguing in the first place. So instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of rushing, you stay grounded. Because the moment you become emotionally impulsive, you lose your balance. In balance, that's what makes you attractive. Now let's talk about something even more subtle: effort. When a younger woman is trying to seduce you, she puts in effort, but in a way that feels effortless. She pays attention to how she presents herself around you. Her energy shifts, her tone softens. There's a warmth, a kind of glow that wasn't there before. And you can feel it without her saying a single word. But here's the key: she doesn't do this all the time. She does it specifically around you. That's how you know it's intentional. Because attraction is selective. It's focused, it's directed, and when you start noticing these patterns, not just once, but consistently, that's when clarity begins to form. But even then, you must remain centered, because not every connection is meant to be pursued. Not every signal is meant to be acted upon. Sometimes the real power lies in understanding, not reacting, because a man who reacts to every sign of attention becomes predictable, but a man who understands becomes unforgettable. And as we move forward, we're going to go even deeper into this, into the emotional dynamics, the psychological layers, and the quiet tests that often go unnoticed but reveal everything. Because what she does next will tell you more than anything she has done so far. And if you're not paying attention, you might miss it completely. Now here's where everything begins to shift, where attraction stops being just a feeling and starts revealing itself through quiet tests. Yes, tests. Not the kind you prepare for, not the kind anyone warns you about, but the kind that happen naturally when someone is trying to understand your strength, your boundaries, your emotional control. Because when a younger woman is truly drawn to an older man, she isn't just feeling something, she's evaluating something. She's asking herself without saying it out loud, is this man stable? Is he grounded? Can he handle me not just when things are easy, but when things become emotionally complex? And this is where many men unknowingly fail, because instead of staying centered, they start reacting. You'll notice moments where she pulls back slightly, not completely, just enough to create space. Conversations become a little shorter. Her energy becomes a bit distant, not cold, just less available than before. And in that moment, a man who lacks awareness begins to chase. He overthinks, he starts sending more messages, he tries harder to get her attention back, he becomes emotionally restless. But a man who understands does something different. He stays calm because he knows if her interest was real, it doesn't disappear overnight. He understands that this slight distance is not rejection, it's observation. She's watching how you respond when the attention isn't constant, watching whether your confidence is real or if it was just a reaction to her interest. Because true confidence doesn't depend on validation. It exists with or without it, and this is what creates emotional tension, not games, not manipulation, but space. Healthy space, because in that space, attraction either fades or deepens. Now here's something even more powerful. A younger woman who is trying to seduce you will sometimes challenge you, not aggressively, but subtly. She might tease you, question your opinions, playfully disagree with you, not to create conflict, but to see how you handle pressure. Do you become defensive? Do you try to prove yourself? Or do you stay composed, grounded, and slightly amused? Because that response tells her everything. A man who gets defensive reveals insecurity. A man who tries too hard to impress reveals neediness. But a man who remains calm, who can smile, who can hold his position without forcing it, that man shows strength. And strength that's deeply attractive. But listen carefully, because this is where emotional maturity becomes everything. Not every test is intentional. Sometimes it's just human behavior, mood swings, personal stress, life happening in the background. And this is why awareness is more important than assumption. Because if you start labeling every action as a test, you'll lose clarity. You'll become reactive instead of observant. And once that happens, you're no longer in control of your emotions. You're being controlled by the situation. Now let's go deeper. There comes a moment when the connection either becomes clear or confusing. And that moment is defined by consistency. If her behavior remains warm, engaged, and intentional over time, then what you're experiencing is not accidental. It's real, but if it's inconsistent, hot and cold, present and distant without any pattern, then you must be careful. Because inconsistency is not attraction, it's uncertainty, and a wise man does not build emotional investment on uncertainty. He observes, he allows time to reveal the truth, because time never lies. Now here's the part most men don't want to hear, but need to understand. Just because a younger woman is seducing you does not mean you should respond. Let that sink in. Attraction is not a command. It's an invitation, and not every invitation is meant to be accepted because you have your own life, your own values, your own direction. And if you lose that chasing a feeling, you lose yourself. And nothing is more unattractive than a man who forgets who he is just to feel wanted. So the real power is not in recognizing her signals, it's in choosing your response. It's in knowing when to engage and when to step back. It's in understanding that your value does not come from her attention. It comes from your self-respect. And when you reach that level of awareness, something changes. You stop chasing clarity, you start attracting it. Because now you're not reacting to emotions, you're leading with understanding. And in the final part, we're going to bring all of this together. Not just the signs, not just the behavior, but the deeper lesson behind it all. The kind of lesson that doesn't just help you understand women, but helps you understand yourself on a level most men never reach. And now we arrive at the part where everything comes together. Not just the signs, not just the signals, but the truth behind why all of this even matters. Because in the end, this was never just about whether a younger woman is seducing you. It was about who you become when you notice it. You see, life has a way of testing a man in quiet moments. Not through loud challenges or dramatic events, but through subtle opportunities, moments that seem small on the surface, yet carry the power to reveal your character. And this is one of those moments. When you recognize that a younger woman is drawn to you, when you feel that attention, that curiosity, that quiet pull, you stand at a crossroads. One path is driven by ego, the desire to prove something, to validate yourself, to chase the feeling of being wanted again. And for a moment, it feels powerful, it feels exciting, like time has reversed, like you've regained something you thought was lost. But that path, if you're not careful, leads to imbalance. Because when a man chases validation, he slowly loses his center. He starts making decisions based on emotion, not clarity. He reacts instead of choosing, and over time, that quiet confidence he once had begins to fade. But there is another path, a path that requires awareness, patience, and emotional strength. A path where you don't rush to label the situation, where you don't immediately act on every signal, but instead you observe, you understand, and most importantly, you stay grounded in who you are. Because here's the truth, the real attraction is not in how she feels about you. It's in how you handle yourself. A younger woman may be drawn to your presence, your experience, your calmness, but what keeps that attraction alive is your ability to remain centered. Not overly excited, not emotionally reactive, not desperate for the connection to become something more, but steady, calm, certain, and when you reach that state, something powerful happens. You stop needing to figure out whether she is seducing you. Because you no longer depend on that answer, you become comfortable in the moment without trying to control it. You engage without losing yourself. You enjoy the connection without becoming attached to the outcome. And that is where true strength lies, because most men are controlled by what they feel. But a wise man understands what he feels without being controlled by it. Now imagine this, you're in her presence. The conversation flows, the energy is there, the signals are clear. But instead of rushing forward, you remain composed. You smile not out of nervousness, but out of confidence. You listen not to impress, but to understand. And when the moment comes, you respond not because you have to, but because you choose to. That level of control, that level of awareness is rare, and rarity creates value. Because in a world where everyone reacts, the man who remains grounded stands out without even trying. But let me leave you with something deeper, something that goes beyond attraction, beyond relationships, beyond this entire conversation. Every interaction in life is a mirror. It reflects back to you who you are in that moment. your patience, your discipline, your emotional control. And when you start seeing life this way, you stop looking for answers outside. You start finding them within. So if a younger woman is seducing you, don't rush to define it. Don't rush to act on it. Instead, use it as a moment of awareness, a moment to observe yourself, to ask, am I grounded? Am I clear? Am I acting with intention or reacting with emotion? Because at the end of the day, it's not about whether she chooses you. It's about whether you choose yourself. And when you do that consistently without compromise, you don't just become attractive, you become unshakable. And so, as this journey comes to a close, let's return to where it all began. That quiet moment, that lingering glance, that subtle shift in energy that made you pause and wonder, is this something more? Now you understand it was never just about her. It was about awareness, because life doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it whispers through people, through moments, through feelings that ask you to slow down and truly see what's in front of you. And when a younger woman shows interest, when her actions carry that deeper intention, it's not a signal for you to lose control, it's an opportunity for you to gain it. An opportunity to stand in your strength, not your ego, to move with clarity, not confusion, to choose with intention, not impulse. Because the truth is, the attraction will come and go in your life. Attention will rise and fall. People will enter and sometimes they will leave. But what remains, what defines you, is how you carry yourself through it all. Do you chase every feeling or do you understand it? Do you react to every signal or do you rise above it? Do you seek validation or do you live with self-respect? These are the questions that shape a man's life, and when you begin to answer them, honestly, something inside you changes. You stop looking for signs because you trust your awareness. You stop seeking approval because you value your own presence. You stop rushing connections because you understand that what is real will reveal itself in time. So if you ever find yourself in that moment again, where the energy feels different, where the connection feels deeper, don't let it confuse you. Let it refine you. Stand calm, stay grounded, observe, feel, understand, but never lose yourself in the process. Because the most powerful thing you can ever become is a man who is in control of his emotions, guided by his values, and unmoved by temporary feelings. And when you reach that place, you won't need to wonder if someone is drawn to you. Your presence will answer that without a single word. So walk forward, not with doubt, but with quiet confidence. Not chasing attention, but embodying strength. Not seeking connection, but becoming someone worth connecting with. And remember, in a world full of noise, the man who understands silence always stands above the rest.